All right, so let's clean up our interface just to get back to kind of square one. I'm going to go ahead and hide my side panels so I have a little bit more space to work with. And we're going to be working in pseudocode right now. So pseudocode, which I'm just in my view controller file right now, I'm going to give myself a couple lines. Remember, I'm doing this all within the class, so within this last curly brace. Give myself a couple lines, and then below the view did load section, I'm just going to start typing some pseudocode. So pseudocode is a technique, and what does the word pseudo mean? Like if it's like pseudo.
Is it like alternate?
It's like fake.
Okay.
I'll cut this out. So pseudocode is like fake code, basically. So pseudocode essentially means you're not really writing code. You're more so writing like plain English that lets you understand what are the steps you need to do. So this is almost like a logic puzzle that we're going to write out. And I think it's really valuable to do this every project. Whenever you start an assignment, you read over the MVP, what the requirements are, start thinking through what does the pseudocode look like. And for example, the pseudocode for making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich might be get bread. Okay, next line. Open bread. Okay, line after that. Pull out 2 slices of bread. Okay, line after that. Open jar of peanut butter, and so on and so forth. So the pseudocode is really just you sort of writing out exactly what needs to happen for, for the program to work. And the program that we're working on is a calculator, right? So we're going to be making a calculator. And the calculator is going to be really simple, and basically I'm going to make a non-math calculator with you, and then it's going to be your task to make a mathematical calculator. So what we're going to do is we're going to do basically a calculator that adds 2 words together. So we're going to have a word on the left, a word on the right, and when we hit the plus button, it's going to add them together. Okay? So my minimum viable product for that would be something like, as a user, I want to see 2 text fields. I want to see a button. I want to be able to input a word in one text field, input a word in the other text field, and whenever I click the button or tap the button, I want those 2 words to be combined below. Right? Very simple. And in fact, we've kind of already done this with the last project, but I want you to really think it through independently as pseudocode, how you would do that. So we'll just write this as comments, and I'm going to give myself a little comment, and I'll say my first line is going to be, so these are the things that are going to happen when the button is tapped. So when the button is tapped, what do we want to happen first?
Do we need to write in that we write a word? Like, are we typing words first?
We could do that, but let's say about that. So let's say words are input, and then when the button is tapped, what happens next?
Words, input. When button is tapped, so we want 2 different words on 2 different sides of the screen?
Yeah, so you have a text field here, a text field here, you're typing in a word in each.
And there's only 1 button? There's not like 2
Yeah,
buttons?
let's just say there's 1 button.
So when the button is tapped, the words are combined.
Okay, so when the button is tapped, words are combined. Okay? So let's break that down further, right? So what's happening right now, which this is fine, and this is like usually, the first inclination of like, how do I make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Take 2 pieces of bread, put peanut butter, put jelly, stick it together, done. But what we really need to do is go through it on that really basic level. All right, so when the button is tapped, words are combined. All right, so that's your that's the whole thing. Let's break that down. So the first thing we need to do is when the button is tapped, okay, we're going to grab word A, so the word on the left. When the button is tapped, grab word B. So they tap it, it's going to get word A, it's going to get word B. Then we're going to add word A to word B. Then we need to actually show it, right? So then we're going to display, we'll call it word C. to the user. So that's kind of breaking it down a little bit further into the pseudocode. And we're going to talk about how to translate that pseudocode to actual code. But I want you to really just slow down and think about it in little baby steps of what needs to happen behind the scenes when something occurs, okay? So when button A is tapped, grab word A, or sorry, when the button's tapped, grab word A, grab word B, add them together, display the word to the user. Let's go ahead and build our user interface, and we'll just do that real quick. So I'll go ahead and click back in my storyboard editor. I'll make that a little bit bigger. I'm going to add text fields. Let's add one to the left. Let's add a text field to the right. Make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to change my background color too, just so it's a little bit easier to see. Okay, and then I'm going to add a button below that. That's going to add the two together. I'll even change the word to say add. And then what do we want to actually display this on? What would we use to display the end result?
Label.
A label. So let's add a label. I'll put that above it. And this is my layout. You can obviously change yours. I'm going to make my label a little bit bigger. I'm also going to realign my text so that it's centered in that label. Okay. So let's go back to our code. All right, so we need to connect all this up to the code, right? We need to hook it up to the code. What would be our outlets and what are going to be actions? What's your guess?
Okay, so the button will be an action.
Okay, let's go ahead and add that then. I'm just going to insert it. I'm going to insert it kind of low because I like to do my actions sort of last. And what would we call it? Actions are usually what kind of words?
They're past tense verbs.
Okay.
So I'm going to stick with button tapped.
Okay. Button tapped, and I'll hit connect. And then...
Oh, okay, so these two would be outlets because they would be like inputs, right?
Okay. So let's connect both of those. So let's connect the one on the left as an outlet. What do you want to call that?
I'm going to call that word A.
Okay, make sure it's set up as an outlet and not an action.
And then I'm going to do word B below it.
Okay. All right, so I connected mine as an action accidentally. So I'm going to delete it, and I'll make sure that I reconnect it properly as an outlet instead. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight it and hit delete on that line. Okay, and the little circle guy went away, which is good. And then I just want to make sure the connection's really gone. So I'm going to open up my little side panel, my inspector. There we go. I'm going to click it, click the text field. I'm going to go to connections view. And we can see there's still an action right here that's set up that never actually got removed. So I'm going to remove it, and let's reconnect that as an outlet. We'll call that one word B and hit connect. Okay, and then what's the label going to be?
The label is going to be an outlet.
Okay, so let's connect that. What do you want to call that?
Word C.
Word C. Okay. So we got word A, word B, word C. Cool. We got all those things connected. Let's give ourselves some space on the button tapped function so we have a little bit more space there.
Can I label those as like input, output?
Yeah, go ahead. With comments?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I would prefer that everybody uses as many comments as possible. I think it's just going to help you understand code.
I just have, if I don't write it down, I'll forget what it is if I go back to it, and writing these notes will help me remember what I was trying to do.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's like, if I don't label the things, then what happens whenever you open up the application, 2 years later or something like that, you're not going to know what's going on. So no, it's a really good idea. So we're in this button tapped function. I gave myself a few extra lines in that, and let's kind of reintroduce that pseudocode down here. So I'm just going to copy that pseudocode that I have up here that says when button is tapped, grab word A. I'm just going to cut that and paste it in here so I can see it. And what I actually like to do is sort of like just add a space between each comment and just kind of write it out. So I'm going to help out with this first one with grabbing word A. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this into a constant, okay? And in the reading, there was a definition of constants and variables, but I'm going to go into a little bit of depth of what those are. So whenever we have like a basically something like word A, word B, word C, those are constants or variables that we've created, okay? And in fact, you can see that because it has the word var, V-A-R, var, in front of it, variable. So word A is a variable, which basically all that means is that it's an item that we've given a custom, understandable name to that really kind of helps us organize our material. And a variable is something that can be changed over time, and a constant is something that can't be changed. So an example might be you have a math problem that's like x equals 10, all right? And then we say x plus 5 equals 15. So the x is a variable that holds a value 10. So it's basically just an easier way to handle these things. So var means it means variable, and the word let means constant, okay? So a constant doesn't change. Variables do change, all right? Those are the two different ones. And remember, they're declared with var and let. Remember in the last project, we had a variable connected that was called mylabel, and we would do mylabel.text equals, and we would set it equal to whatever was in the form, right? So that was something that was changing. That variable, the mylabel.text, was changing whenever we executed something. So we're going to do the same thing here. What we're going to do, and this is very common practice, we could technically do all of this in like one line of code, but it would be a kind of super monster line that's hard to understand. So what we're going to do is we're going to use these variables as little containers, and we're going to take the data. So we're going to take the word that goes into word A, and we're going to put it into a variable or a constant, okay? And we're going to kind of house it so it's a little bit easier to understand. So for example, let's grab word A. I'm going to write this code, and then I'll explain it. I'm going to write the word let, and we'll call it grabbed word A equals word A dot text. You might get a little warning, and that's okay. It's a yellow warning, not an error. And I'll tell you what that warning means in just a second. So we're saying when this button is tapped, create a new constant. The word let means create a new constant called grabbed word A, and set it equal to whatever's in word A right there. How would we write this for word B?
So you would say let grabbed word B equals word B dot text.
Cool. So what we're doing is we're taking the text that's in word A, that text field, and we're putting it into this. Because remember, this isn't just the text. This is the text font, the text color, is it editable, is it not editable? It's all these things. It's a UI text field. What we're doing is we're just going to grab the text and plop it into a constant called grabbed word A. Now, you might be saying, why are you using a constant here and not a variable, right? Because this is going to change, like people could type in here. The reason I'm doing that is because every time we tap this button, all these things are just going to get refreshed. Because remember, this code only gets executed when this button's tapped. So the button's tapped, and then we're saying, make a thing called word A, put the text into it. Make a thing called word, or grabbed word B, put the text into it, and so on. Let's add these two together. So let's say let word or grabbed, I'll say combined word C equals grabbed word A plus grabbed word B. And it's going to give us an error, which is saying a lot of stuff. Thinking back to what happened last time, whenever we had, it's the same error we had last time. It's happening twice because we have two optionals, right? We have two possibilities of there not being anything in there. How did we guarantee last time that there was something in there?
We put it in parentheses.
We put in parentheses and we
also
added
the question marks and put blank.
Awesome. So let's do question mark, question mark.
Do we do it after the string? Oh, so you do it for both lines.
Yeah, for both lines. Yep, let's do it for both lines. Because they're going to be like separate little things. So Hannah was asking because she was going to encapsulate the whole thing in one parentheses, which will give us that same error again. We want to do a parentheses here and a parentheses here so that both of these are in one. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so you can see it all as one line.
Oh. So like that.
Yep, exactly. So it's two separate little operations. You can kind of think of it as like parentheses, like PEMDAS or whatever. We're saying, does this have a value if it doesn't make it blank? Does this have a value if it doesn't make it blank? Then add them together because it's not going to know one or the other. All right. So what's this warning that we're getting? Okay, let's click it. Computer science long terms. Lame. Initialization of immutable value combined word C was never used. Consider replacing with assignment to underscore or removing it. What this is, and you're going to get this all the time, this is not an error, and this is not something you need to fix. This is just a warning. Swift is saying, okay, good, you combine them, but you don't ever do anything with this. You don't ever do anything with combined word C. Like, you're not displaying it to the user, you're not, like, using it in any way. So why are you even declaring it? And what's kind of cool is in Swift, if, we were, in my opinion, crazy and decided we're not going to use it, we're just adding them together for whatever reason, we could use underscore, which just means nothing. So instead of giving it a name, we could use underscore. We're never going to do that. I just want you to be aware of what that error is, because some people kind of freak out, or that warning, it's not really an error, but people freak out and they say, what does this mean? What does this mean? And then they just click fix because they say, okay, whatever, I'll just fix it. And what happens whenever you click fix? It just replaces it with an underscore. It makes it totally unreadable. So it's saying, why aren't you using this? You're not using it anywhere. So let's use it. Let's display word C to the user. So how might we do that? Let's think back to what we did last project. We didn't declare anything.
I remember we did something where we said this dot text
okay
equals, and then you said my name is plus the text.
Yeah, so it was like adding something to it. Okay. So you're thinking of, there was something dot text. So what's the thing that we're outputting this to? What are we showing this word on?
Label.
The label. What's the label's name?
Word C.
So we called it word C. So let's write word C. And then let's put a dot text equals, what's it going to be equal to?
Combined word C.
Yep. Combined.
Do we need to write text with that one?
No, because we're not accessing the text property. We are going to get an error probably. Let's see. Nope, it doesn't give us one because we actually already coalesced the top ones, which means we gave them the option of having blank. If we didn't do that, we would have gotten an error. No, in fact, like, it's just so the dot text is coming because this, just as a reminder, word C is a UI label. That's what word C is. So word C, like, this is just a piece of text. This is just a piece of text. This is just a piece of text. These are much more complex and have, like, a lot to them. So there's, like, dot font or dot color, background color. There's all kinds of things that you can change with it. Those are properties. Dot represents, it's called dot syntax. It represents going inside of this thing. So we're saying go inside word C find a thing called text and set it equal to this. So that dot is almost like a nest. And sometimes there's a lot of dots in a row. Sometimes it'll be dot text, dot color, dot, right? And you're going deeper and deeper and deeper. So we're taking word C and we're going into the text property and we're saying set that to equal to combined word C. Let's go ahead and hit play. Oh, I designed this on iPhone 11, and so did you.
Yeah.
That's okay. I need to change my default to be designing on iPhone SE, just because it'll run so much faster than an iPhone 11 on your laptop. But it looks okay. It doesn't look great. It's really off center now. All right, let's add some text to it. So let's do, my first word will be blah. My second word will be Bing. I'll hit add, blah, Bing. So we add those things together, and if we change them, they can say different things. Hit add, and it's going to add them together. So going back here, we could simplify this, right? This could really just be one line of code if we really wanted it to be. It could be wordc.text equals word a.text plus word b.text with this and this and this. But the reason I want to kind of spread this out for you is to show you what happens whenever you have these kind of two things that you're taking a piece of data over here, you're taking a piece of data over here, and you're combining them together in some way. If you're thinking about this, how could you take, for example, a number and put it in here? Like what happens if I do this? This is a calculator, right? We're adding these two things together. What happens if I do 5 plus 10? What's my result going to be? Can you tell me before I hit it?
I think it's just going to be 510.
Yep, it's 510. So we're going to tackle that in the next video of how we change this into actually doing a mathematical operation rather than sort of just being this kind of adding two words together.